off with a clandestine move that raised eyebrows south of the border. Donald Trump has issued a secret directive. Is it really secret if everyone knows about it? Anyways, authorizing the Pentagon to use U.S. military force on foreign soil against Latin American drug cartels. Major names targeted include notorious groups such as the MS-13.
Which isn't from Mexico, but continue.
I don't know, which is designated as a terrorist organization. While details of planned operations are murky, the move has sparked strong pushback, especially from Mexico's president, who emphasized cooperation, not invasion, as the shared path forward. So Trump wants the military to take on the cartels, which means the next Call of Duty might just be Operation Taco Tuesday.
That I think that works. In fact, I think that's what they should call the operation. Is Taco Tuesday, because reasons. This is absolutely silly and ridiculous. I you can't beat him that way. Let's just start there. You can't beat him that way. It's not gonna work. Sorry.
Yeah. Honestly, I don't think it's really with the goal of beating them. I think there's so much just being thrown out there that it is to distract us from Jeffrey Epstein.
And we're gonna keep going. He's literally throwing everything against the wall to see what sticks, right? Invading Mexico. Sure, why not? In fact, I think he should do it next Tuesday. Let's go for it. Go ahead to our next one on our list of things.
Yeah, next up, we're headed to Alaska, which Trump actually got mixed up with Russia. I mean, it's an honest mistake. It's up there. Trump is slated to meet Putin in Anchorage on August 15th, 2025, marking the first presidential sit down since 2019. This quote, feel out meeting is aimed at exploring prospects of ending the Russia-Ukraine war. The White House is downplaying the stakes, calling it more of a listening exercise, but both sides have already initiated diplomatic preparations, including pre-summit phone calls between top diplomats. Trump and Putin meeting in Alaska, nothing says like peace talks, like two guys fighting over who gets the last salmon roll.
And the other country involved is just not involved in the talks at all, right? Which I love. I love that.
Any sense?
This again is another one where I'm like, what do you? And the funniest part is his chief negotiator, Steve Witkoff, has already screwed it up, right? Because he had a meeting with the Russians, and then he went back out and put out and leaked all this information about what the Russians were willing to give up. And the Russians came out and said, that's not what we said. So he had to go back to the Russians and be like, all right, what was it you said again? Like, it's the Keystone Cops, right? The other thing we need to remember, and this is where you have to put yourself in Russia's shoes for just 1 minute. We were actively engaged in diplomatic talks with the Iranians when we bombed them, right? So if you're Russia, do you trust a single fucking word coming out of this administration's mouth? Doesn't matter who it is. Like, and they're so mercurial that one day they're like, tariffs, the next day, never mind. Like, he just signed another extension on the China tariffs and all this other stuff. Like, I don't know what the fuck is happening day to day. And longtime viewers of the show will note, we used to do at least a segment a week in the early part of the administration about the nutty stuff they were doing. They have ramped it. They've sped it up. It's like, let's go. We stopped covering it because we couldn't keep up.
It's also just crazy and kind of depressing. I don't think our listeners want to hear us just rant about Trump all the time. I don't know. Hopefully not.
Speaking of the war in Russia and Ukraine, what's next?
Oh, God. Well, OctoKitty, there is so much content here. Jesus. Like, why do I have all the talking points? On the economic front, Trump slapped a 50% tariff on Indian goods, combining with the already 25% tariff additional 25% tariff of Russian oil. Trump held this as a big blow to Moscow's already fragile economy. India, meanwhile, is not backing down. Trade talks are still scheduled for later this month, meaning everything is probably going to just be undone or extended or whatever. But as they continue to pursue multifaceted dialogue, stating confidently that the relationship extends beyond trade friction. So Trump's new tariffs on Indian imports is now 50%. At this rate, curry night is going to cost more than a Bitcoin.
Again,
Yeah,
I can't keep up with what they're doing.
no one can. I don't.
Like, I get it. He's like, hey, India, you're helping prop up Russia's economy by buying oil from them. So we're going to slap a tariff on you because you keep buying oil from Russia, which they're using to fund their war in Ukraine. And I almost get it. But again, nobody believes him anymore. Right? We didn't cover this one, but it was the whole Wall Street joke, the taco. Trump always chickens out. Right? Because at the end of the day, I don't think anybody buys his stuff anymore. They're like, and as far as they're concerned, he's a one-term president now. Like, he's gone in 3.5 years, right? They don't care. They'll just wait him out, right? Because even if the Republicans stay in charge, none of them are going to be as nutty as this guy.
Yeah.
All right. Moving on to our last piece of this, the Epstein distraction tour. What are we doing right here at home, Jay?
Yeah. Right here at home, we're trying to stay cool because it is hot in Washington. Oh, I'm sorry. You mean like the country-wise? Yes, there is more. As of August 12th, 2025, President Donald Trump has deployed 800 National Guard troops to Washington, D.C., following his declaration as a crime emergency in the city. This is insane. And it also includes federalizing the Metro Police Department, placing it under the control of the Attorney General, and directing the National Guard to assist in law enforcement efforts. Trump's administration justifies this action by citing a need to address rising crime and homelessness. However, official crime statistics indicate that violent crime in DC has actually decreased to a 30-year low. Critics argue that the move is political and may violate the 1973 Home Rule Act, which limits federal investigation and local governance.
Yeah, and that was the thing that let DC become really its own city, right? It was the Home Rule Act, right? They said, okay, you can have a mayor and you can have a city council and you can rule yourselves and not have Congress just run the city. Again, we're not sure where this would violate it, because technically he does have the right to do this. This is actually one of the areas where he actually is standing on fairly firm legal ground, except we're not sure what the emergency is, right? And it's only going to last 7 weeks or 60 days or something like that before Congress has to get involved. They're required to, right, to authorize any further action. And this is all, lest we forget, because former Doge staffer Big Balls got his ass whooped in D.C. over the weekend, right? Again, this is actually what pushed into the weird Twitter interaction I had this morning. I don't know. Congratulations, you're paying too much money for a bunch of National Guardsmen to stand around and be mad that they're there. Because it sucks. These guys don't want to be standing out in full kit in the middle of the DC heat in August. They don't want to do it, right? What are you doing? I know the National Guard's capability. This is the thing that gets me. I understand the National Guard's capabilities. And there are, like, the National Guard is trained for riot control, right? They're trained for that. They're trained for certain things that they do domestically, right? Fires, rescue operations, riots, civil unrest. None of that's happening, right? The National Guard's not a law enforcement agent. What are you having them do precisely, and they have no arresting powers. They can't do anything, right? Hey, look, that guy's stealing that car. Sucks. Like, I don't know what they're supposed to do, right? Somebody the Twitch chat's like, National Guard, do you ever wonder why we're here? They will constantly, and so here's what's going to happen. The first couple weeks, they'll be like, all right, sure, it's a mission, and we'll do some stuff. And then they're going to get about 2 weeks in, and they're going to be like, can we go home now? Because the other thing that the Army does in these situations, for various reasons, is these guys will be on deep levels of restriction. They will be in the city and won't be allowed to go out anywhere. Right? They'll be stuck in rooms and like sitting, and they will hate their lives. I don't know. What do you think, Jay? Like, what was your first thought on this one?
It's just like so clearly either like a distraction or just prepping for something else that's coming. I don't really know, but like, it's like, oh, crime is so bad. And I was like, wait, what? Why is crime that bad? And then it's like, no, it's not. It's at a record 30-year low. And then I was like, what? What are we doing? Like, I don't know.
Well, now he's threatening to do it in Chicago, Baltimore, other cities. The funny thing is they were talking about ones that have really high crime rates that are in red states that he's completely ignoring, like St. Louis and Memphis, which have much higher crime rates than Washington, D.C., but you're not deploying the National Guard there, right? Because it's not about that. It's entirely political, which is what's like completely unsurprising about it. Anyway. Thus ends this short version of the Epstein distraction list, which I'm convinced this is what they're doing. They're just trying to keep... The news cycle was so focused on the Epstein thing for so long there for that block. They want to talk about anything else. So they are just doing everything else to make sure that the news cycle cannot swing back. And more importantly, not so much the mainstream media, the social media cycle. Because even when they were not doing it, there was a bunch of like Republican people who were like, yo, dude, we voted for you for transparency. You're supposed to be releasing this shit. And they didn't do it. And they were starting to get irritated. And so they want any other thing to talk about. Put anything else into the cultural zeitgeist that is not the Epstein list, right? Not the fact that we moved Ghislaine Maxwell to a minimum security prison. And oh, by the way, she can get out on furloughs now to go work in town. Oh, and guess what? Everybody dropped a story about, hey, because there was a bunch of reporters digging into who actually signed the order to move her. They were trying to figure it out, and then all this crap happened. And now that story's disappeared for now.
For now. I mean...
I think eventually they're going to run out of distractions. There's only so much shit you can do. Never mind. I take that back. There's always weird shit you can do.
My favorite like literature I don't know category is dystopian future. So like I don't know, like you read 1984, Fahrenheit 451, all these books. There's still a lot more that they could do, but it's not pretty.
Yeah.
So
all right, let us know what you think down in the comments below.